Celine Dion didn't have to show the world what stiff person syndrome really looks like. She could have hidden the 10-minute muscle spasm attack that left her body rigid and unresponsive while cameras rolled during filming of her Amazon Prime documentary in 2024, but instead she made the devastating decision to include the raw, unedited footage showing her feet cramping, legs locking, torso seizing, arms clawing up, and neck pulling back while she cried in terror, and doctors rushed to help her through an episode so severe that millions of viewers would later report crying while watching it because they'd never seen anything so brutally honest about chronic illness. June 25, 2024, Amazon Prime Video. I Am Celine Dion documentary premiere day. Millions of subscribers pressed play. Excited to see Celine, hoping for an inspiring comeback story. A triumphant return from the legendary singer. They weren't prepared for what they were about to witness. This video reveals what actually happened during the 10-minute muscle spasm attack that Celine Dion chose to include in her documentary, despite knowing it would be the most vulnerable moment of her entire life captured on film. Why she made the decision to show the world the brutal reality of living with stiff person syndrome, even though she was terrified and embarrassed about people seeing her body completely out of control. What viewers actually saw minute by minute as the attack progressed from minor foot cramping to full-body rigidity, with Celine unable to move or speak while medical staff tried unsuccessfully to relieve her suffering. How the rare neurological disease that affects only 1 in 1 million people turns patients' muscles into stone through autoimmune attacks on the nervous system. Why Celine cried after the attack ended, saying, "I don't want people to see me like this," but ultimately decided the footage was too important not to share. And how 1 month after the world witnessed her most devastating moment, she somehow found the strength to perform at the Eiffel Tower during the Paris Olympics opening ceremony, proving that vulnerability and triumph can coexist. The therapy session started normally. Routine. Expected. Celine Dion sat in a treatment room, her physical therapist nearby. Cameras rolling for the documentary. Standard filming day. June 2024. Months into production of I Am Celine Dion, Amazon Prime documentary about her battle with stiff person syndrome. The crew had been following Celine for over a year, documenting her daily struggle, her treatments, her hope, her pain, but they'd never captured what was about to happen. Celine shifted in her chair. Uncomfortable. "My feet feel weird," she said quietly. The therapist noticed. "Cramping? A little. It's okay. I'll stretch." This is how it always started. Minor, manageable, easy to dismiss. Celine stood up, tried to walk it off, stretched her toes, flexed her feet, but the cramping didn't stop. It intensified. "It's getting worse," Celine said, concern in her voice now. The therapist moved closer. "Do you need to sit down?" "No, I wait." Celine's face changed. Fear. Her feet locked, toes curling involuntarily, muscles contracting beyond her control. This wasn't just cramping anymore. This was a spasm attack, and it was escalating. Stiff person syndrome is a nightmare disease. Rare, brutal, incurable. Only 1 in 1 million people develop it. Celine is one of them. SPS is an autoimmune disorder. The body's immune system mistakenly attacks the nervous system, specifically GAD enzymes that regulate muscle movement. When those enzymes are destroyed, muscles can't relax properly. They stay contracted, rigid, stiff. Patients describe it as feeling like their body is turning into stone. Muscles that should be flexible become concrete. Movement becomes impossible. The spasms can be triggered by anything: stress, noise, touch, even emotional responses, or they can happen randomly, without warning. During a spasm attack, muscles contract violently, uncontrollably. It feels like being electrocuted or crushed. Patients say the pain is indescribable. Some attacks last seconds, others last minutes. In severe cases, like what was about to happen to Celine, they can last 10 minutes or longer, and there's no way to stop them. No immediate treatment. You just have to endure until the attack passes. For Celine, a performer whose career depended on precise muscle control, vocal cord flexibility, and stage movement, this disease was the worst possible diagnosis. SPS was stealing her ability to sing, to perform, to move, to live independently. And the cameras were about to capture exactly what that looked like. "I can't move my feet," Celine said, panic rising in her voice. The therapist knelt down, tried to massage Celine's feet, manually stretched the muscles. It didn't help. The spasms were too strong, overriding any external intervention. Celine tried to walk, couldn't. Her feet were locked, frozen in a cramped position. "Get the doctor," the therapist said to someone off camera. 1 minute into the attack, already serious, but it was about to get much worse. Celine sat back down, breathing heavily. "It's moving up," she whispered. The spasms weren't staying in her feet. They were spreading, traveling up her legs, This is how SPS attacks progress. They start in one area, then cascade through the body, muscle group after muscle group seizing up. Celine's calves contracted. Rock hard, she winced in pain. Then her thighs, locking, immovable. I can't bend my legs, Celine said. Terror in her eyes now. 2 minutes into the attack. Lower body completely rigid. And it was still spreading. The documentary director faced a decision in that moment. Keep filming? Or stop the cameras? This was supposed to be an inspirational documentary about Celine's strength, her resilience, her journey with SPS. But what was happening wasn't inspirational. It was devastating. Raw. Brutal. The director kept filming. Later, Celine would have to decide whether this footage would make it into the final cut. Whether the world should see this. But right now, Celine couldn't think about that. She was fighting for control of her own body. And losing. 3 minutes in, the spasms reached her torso. Celine's abdominal muscles contracted. Hard. Her ribs pulled inward. Breathing became difficult. I can't breathe right, she gasped. Fear escalating. The medical team arrived. 2 doctors, a nurse. They dealt with Celine's spasms before. But each attack was different. Unpredictable. One doctor tried to massage her back, trying to relax the muscles manually. It barely helped. Try to breathe slowly, the doctor instructed. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Celine tried, but her diaphragm was spasming. Each breath was a struggle. 4 minutes in, her arms started. Celine's hands curled, fingers clawing inward, wrists bending at unnatural angles. No, 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 Celine cried, tears streaming down her face, her arms pulled up, elbows bending, locked in a rigid position against her chest, like a boxer's defensive stance. But involuntary, forced. Celine couldn't straighten her arms, couldn't uncurl her fingers. Complete loss of control. Make it stop, she begged. Please make it stop. But nobody could. The doctors couldn't. The medication couldn't. Her own willpower couldn't. She had to endure. 5 minutes into the attack, the worst part began. The spasms reached her neck. Celine's neck muscles contracted violently, her head pulled backward, forced into extension. This is one of the most dangerous aspects of SPS attacks. When neck muscles seize, airways can be compromised. Patients can choke, suffocate. The medical team watched closely, ready to intervene if her airway closed. Celine's face showed pure agony, tears pouring, makeup running. She tried to speak but could barely form words. I can't, she choked out. Her jaw was clenching, teeth grinding, another muscle group seizing. 6 minutes in, full body rigidity. Every major muscle group contracted simultaneously. Celine's body was a statue, frozen, immovable, trapped. The pain must have been excruciating. SPS patients describe spasm attacks as feeling like every muscle is being torn apart, like bones are breaking, like the body is being crushed from the inside. And Celine was conscious through all of it. Aware, terrified. The camera operator zoomed in on Celine's face, capturing everything. The tears, the fear, the helplessness. This wasn't edited, wasn't dramatized. This was real, raw, unfiltered suffering. Later, when editing the documentary, the production team would debate whether to include this footage. It was too raw, too intimate, too painful to watch. But it was also the truth, the reality of living with SPS. Something most people had never heard of, never seen. Celine would ultimately make the call, show it. Not because she wanted people to see her suffering, but because she wanted people to understand, to know what rare disease patients endure, to raise awareness, even if it meant exposing her most vulnerable moment to millions of strangers. 7 minutes into the attack, Celine was crying uncontrollably now, not just from physical pain, from emotional devastation, humiliation, fear. This is her body, the instrument she spent 40+ years training, the voice that sang "My Heart Will Go On," the performer who commanded stages worldwide, and she couldn't control it. Her own body had turned against her. I'm so sorry, Celine sobbed. I'm sorry you have to see this. Apologizing to the camera crew, to the doctors, to viewers she hadn't even met yet. Sorry for having a disease. Sorry for being sick. Sorry for being human. The doctor held her hand. Don't apologize. You're doing great. Just breathe, it will pass. But would it? 7 minutes is an eternity when your body is in spasm. Every second feels like an hour. 8 minutes in, Celine's eyes showed exhaustion, defeat. She'd been fighting the spasms, trying to force her muscles to relax, battling her own nervous system. But you can't win that fight. The disease is too strong. The autoimmune attack too powerful. All you can do is survive. Endure. Wait for it to end. 9 minutes. The spasms started to ease. Finally, slowly, gradually, muscle groups began releasing. One by one, her hands uncurled first, fingers straightening, relief visible on her face, then her arms, lowering from their locked position. Mobility returning, her neck released, head moving forward, no longer pulled back. Torso relaxing, breathing easier. Legs loosening, feet uncramping. 10 minutes total. From start to finish. 10 minutes of hell. But it was over. For now, Celine collapsed forward, exhausted, drained, traumatized. The medical team helped her lie down, checked her vital signs, monitored her breathing. Physically, she was okay. No lasting damage from this particular attack. But emotionally, psychologically, Celine was shattered. She looked at the camera, tears still flowing. "Please don't use this footage," she whispered. "I don't want people to see me like this." The director nodded. Non-committal. They'd discuss it later. Right now, Celine needed rest, recovery, time to process what had just happened. The camera finally stopped rolling. Weeks later, editing room, documentary production team. The footage of the Spasm attack sat in the timeline. Raw, powerful, devastating. "We can't show this," one editor said. "It's too much, too invasive, but it's real," another countered. "This is what she lives with. People need to see it." The debate continued for days. Ethical questions, privacy concerns, impact considerations. Finally, they brought it to Celine. "Do you want this in the documentary?" they asked. "We'll cut it if you're not comfortable." Celine watched the footage, saw herself at her lowest, most vulnerable, most broken. She cried watching it, reliving the trauma, but then she made her decision. Show it. Why? Why would Celine Dion choose to expose that moment to the world? She explained in an interview, "I want people to understand what stiff person syndrome really is. Not just the name, not just the diagnosis, but what it feels like, what it looks like, the reality. Too many people with rare diseases suffer in silence. Nobody sees, nobody understands, nobody believes them. If showing my worst moment helps even one person feel less alone, if it helps doctors recognize SPS symptoms faster, if it raises awareness that leads to more research, then it's worth it." Yes, I was embarrassed. Terrified. I didn't want people to see me that way. But my embarrassment is less important than education. My privacy is less important than awareness. This disease has taken so much from me. My career, my independence, my ability to do what I love. But it won't take my voice, not my literal voice. That's complicated. But my voice in speaking out, advocating, helping others. So yes, show the footage. Let people see the truth. June 25, 2024. I Am Celine Dion. Premiered on Amazon Prime. The Spasm attack scene was included. In full, unedited. Social media exploded. Millions watched. Millions reacted. I'm crying watching this. I had no idea. This is the bravest thing I've ever seen a celebrity do. Celine Dion showing her Spasm attack just saved my life. I have the same symptoms. I'm going to my doctor tomorrow. I've never heard of stiff person syndrome. This is horrifying. How is there no cure? The courage it takes to show this, I'm speechless. Medical professionals weighed in. As a neurologist, I'm grateful Celine shared this. Most people have never seen an SPS attack. This will help with diagnosis and understanding. SPS patients and their families responded. "Thank you, Celine. Nobody believed me when I described my spasms. Now I can show them your video and they understand. My daughter has SPS. Watching Celine go through this, I'm not alone. We're not alone." The documentary became Amazon Prime's most watched documentary of 2024. Not because people wanted to see a celebrity suffer, but because Celine's vulnerability was so profound, so honest, so rare in the age of curated social media perfection. She showed the world what chronic illness really looks like. Not Instagram-filtered spoony content. Not brave faces and inspirational quotes. Raw, unfiltered, terrifying, real, and in doing so, she changed the conversation around rare diseases, around chronic pain, around invisible illnesses. Suddenly, stiff person syndrome wasn't an unknown condition anymore. Doctors were more aware. Patients were getting diagnosed faster. Research funding increased. One 10-minute spasm attack, captured on camera, shared with the world, changed everything. But the story doesn't end there. Because 1 month later, just 1 month after the world watched Celine at her lowest, something impossible happened. July 26, 2024, Paris Olympics opening ceremony. Celine Dion stood at the Eiffel Tower, microphone in hand, preparing to sing. After showing the world she couldn't control her own body, she was about to attempt a live performance in front of billions of viewers. The woman who'd been rigid and helpless just weeks earlier was going to sing at the Olympics, at the Eiffel Tower. People watching the documentary wondered, how? How is this possible? The camera caught everything. June 2024. Therapy room. Celine's feet cramped, then legs locked, torso seized, arms clawed, neck pulled back. 10 minutes of her body turning against her. Doctors unable to help. Celine crying, terrified, trapped in her own rigid muscles. She could have hidden this, cut the footage, protected her image. Instead, she chose, show it. Let the world see. Let them understand. I don't want people to see me like this. But then show the footage. People need to know. Embarrassment versus education. Privacy versus awareness. Celine chose awareness. June 25, 2024. The documentary premiered. Millions watched the Spasm attack. Social media exploded. I had no idea. This is the bravest thing I've ever seen. Nobody believed my symptoms until I showed them this. Doctors, this will help with diagnosis. Patients, I'm not alone anymore. One 10-minute attack. Captured, shared. Changed the conversation. Stiff person syndrome went from unknown to understood. Research funding increased. Diagnosis improved. Lives saved. Because Celine said, show the world my worst moment. But here's what nobody knew while watching that devastating footage. 1 month later, she would stand at the Eiffel Tower and sing. The same body that seized, that froze, that failed her on camera, would perform at the Olympics in front of billions, from rigidity to resilience, from helplessness to hope. The Spasm attack showed the world her lowest point, but Celine wasn't done yet. The same woman who couldn't move for 10 minutes would soon stand on the world's most famous landmark and prove that vulnerability and strength aren't opposites. They're the same story, different chapters. The camera caught her breaking, but it also caught her refusing to stay broken. June, the attack that shocked the world. July, the performance nobody thought possible. Celine Dion showed us both, the fall and the rise, because that's the truth of living with chronic illness. It's not just suffering, it's not just triumph, it's both, simultaneously, forever. The Spasm attack was real, the pain was real, the helplessness was real, and so was what came next.